I hear that the lag on the Prezi is just a little bit, so if you have any questions or you need me to slow down, we may need to take a look at our technology here for just a second and work back. Today's topic is designing asynchronous activities. I've called this the flip side. Our last session actually was on synchronous activities, so we thought we would tag on this. So why asynchronous learning? Synchronous learning has had some wonderful advantages. Asynchronous does as well. The research says that the relevancy to the workplace of today and tomorrow, we have found that millennials are actually quite tied to understanding asynchronous learning tools, and so using it in classrooms is going to be quite relevant to their future workplaces. The flexibility for learners, learners are of all venues these days. We have everybody across the world. We have them at all hours of the day, and so that flexibility really does play in their grander educational scheme, as well as flexibility for instructors. I see that as a bonus. This places the instructors in a possible facilitator role somewhat naturally, as many of those who use flipped classrooms will already find. So let's say we're taking a look at synchronous learning and or asynchronous learning. At this point, I am not vying for one method over the other, but filling your toolbox with tools of both. Synchronous learning is based on building community, it is real-time, and it supports immediacy. Asynchronous learning focuses on outside of class activities, flexibility for the learner as long as rigor and relevancy are clearly explained and expected. So we want to take a look at some examples of both. On the synchronous side, you might think of things like phone calls, teleconferencing, chat windows, video conferencing such as Skype, Zoom, or Polycom, electronic whiteboards. These are also available in many tools we see today on the video conferencing side. Electronic whiteboards are available in Blackboard Collaborate, which we are using today. Zoom, I believe it's available in Illuminate, Adobe Connect, and many others. I wanted to give a little bit of a shout out, though, to the tool that's called zoom.us. For the hosts of the sessions, they are the only ones that need an account. All of the users can actually log in without having an account, and the host gets to be able to run things and share screens. Everybody is able to share screens if they want to. It gives you both video and audio. And a new tool I just found recently that is just an electronic whiteboard is called groupboard.com. So I thought I would share all of those with you. Some examples of asynchronous are anything from email, social media, text, and an SMS recorder called Remind 101. We have several instructors that use that here at Grandview University. Remind 101 has both the instructors and the students sign up for accounts, put in their texting, the students put in their texting information, so their cell phone numbers, and Remind 101 actually keeps everything anonymous. So instructors can send text messages to students. I believe students can send messages back, and it all goes through a website so that you aren't actually giving out your cell phone number to any of the users. Other things like e-announcements through maybe your learning management system or any other venue that you might be using. Viewing videos are also another example. There are great places for video storage and dissemination, many that you've used before, YouTube, Vimeo. One for creation software, however, where you're able to build digital stories is called WeVideo. It does have some limitations, so do make sure you look at it first. But just signing up an account, taking still shots, putting them together with audio and or like old-time Western movies and whatnot, where you can put in words instead of audio, it's really a great tool. Another example are discussion boards. Make sure on your discussion boards that you focus on real-world experiences That way students cannot say, oh yeah, me too. One of our major downfalls of discussion boards is the, I want to say the same thing. Also, answering something from a textbook, only one person answers and it pretty much attends to the rest of the class. So if you use those real-world experiences or open-ended questions, I think you get a lot more variety in your discussion boards as well. Another option that some LMSs allow are student facilitators, where the students run the discussion board rather than the instructors. I think this gives students a great power to really be in charge of the learning that's happening classroom-wide, especially if they are doing it asynchronously after you've already built the community or as a process of building the community. And the last example I have for asynchronous learning, though there are many more, are different types of feedback. Some of those might be written feedback, and others might be audio feedback. That has definitely come around as a big usable item for students to understand where they may have gone wrong and make corrections, and a great tool for learning and reaching the learning objectives. Last month, Ann Negus said it's about what's right and what's not. So each learning environment and objective differ. We have to choose the tools, the modality, and the environment where those learning objectives might work best. That may be synchronous or asynchronous. So let's do a quick poll, and I don't have this on the presentation side, so you'll just have to listen carefully. Let's see, I'm going to have to change the polling tool. I'm sorry, one moment, please. Okay, just above the main room, what types of learning do you currently use in your classroom? A, face-to-face, B, blended, and C, online. Which do you use most? A, face-to-face, B, blended, and C, online. I have several folks that are really focused on online learning. Excellent. I've got some blended folks. Excellent. Okay. And one face-to-face so far. Perfect. Thanks for your involvement. So with that, in those different modalities, because all three of those modalities and environments can use any of these types of learning, both synchronous and asynchronous. So let's clear our polls. And for the second poll, do you use synchronous learning activities? So that would be A. B, asynchronous learning activities. Or C, both? One more time. A is synchronous. B is asynchronous. And C is both. Excellent. Well, this is great. Thank you again for being a part of the polling. I think making an active classroom is a wonderful part of synchronous learning. So let's take a look at what asynchronous learning might entail, though we are going to also cover synchronous learning just a little bit. With the asynchronous learning, or each of these learning types actually can happen either on the web or in person. So now we have to choose the type of learning. Do you choose synchronous or asynchronous learning? What we need to find out is what types of learning needs to happen. Does it need to be more interactive learning? Do the students need to have timely responses for what it is that they're covering at that moment? Or do these two things work together? If you do those, most learning types are going to be synchronous, but not always. For the asynchronous learning, you're going to be looking at flexibility or convenience, possibly due to time or location. You could be anywhere around the world at any given time and be able to interact. It also reduces the pressure for more in-depth answers. It gives the students time to digest the information before contributing to the conversation. And depending on the tools that you use, it may be the means in which you communicate. Most everyone has email without creating new accounts. So thinking of each of these items to decide whether or not the activities are going to be synchronous or asynchronous is a very important feature before you start building the activities themselves. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. So let's take a look at the disadvantages. What could deter learning? For synchronous learning, does it lack flexibility? Do you need to use Doodle and plan ahead? Is it already written on your syllabus schedule? With that being said, it does take more preparation to set up those synchronous activities. There's less availability for reactivity unless it is prepared into the lesson. Is it quick or critical thinking? Both are beneficial, and both can be seen on the synchronous or asynchronous side. More likely in the synchronous side, you're looking at quick thinking, where time might give you more availability for the critical thinking. And as a user, are you going to have to take time to register for a new tool, learn how to set it up? Could those cause frustration? On the asynchronous side, it lacks immediacy. Unless there is general planning taken into this, time may be of the essence for the activity, and if that's the case, asynchronous may not be the tool for this activity. It may also lack drama. You can't have debates near as easily that is heated. However, if you ever watch a discussion board in a blended classroom, sometimes those do get quite heated. So I don't want to say that this is an overall. With the drama or the lack of drama, is that an unmotivating factor for students? Do they need that sort of heated moment to take in those lessons? And last but not least, is the information still relevant when the other students get back to it? It is likely that some synchronous activities may precede asynchronous activities. So let's take a look at the future. If synchronous activities build community, then we want to think of where these students might work in the future. Just recently, there have been lots of articles about Yahoo. Those that are building community are usually at the workplace with less flexibility. Yahoo and Apple are two of the bigger contributors to that. And different workplaces have different expectations. Those students who have great asynchronous skills, have the motivation to continue working, usually end up growing the community even at a distance without the restrictions of time or location. And those are places like Google, Facebook, Cisco, Aflac. They have a lot of flexibility in their work schedules and work days. So not only are you looking at this for the learning possibilities and meeting your learning objectives, you are also looking to give your students experiences that they will use in their future workplace. In addition, you might be looking at things beyond building and growing the community, such as problem-based learning. Are they doing group work, problem solving? Are they doing these in the classroom with each other? Are they doing them via a distance? And then here in just a minute, we're going to take a look at some of the tools that they might use to do these problem-based learning activities. Do they need spontaneity? When is the spark going to come? Where are they going to react to this? How are the other people who they're working with going to be able to respond? Urgency. Sometimes this is in a synchronous class where you get that urgency where this needs to be dealt with now. In an asynchronous class, urgency is still there, but it might be a little bit more flexible because you still need to respond to each other and become a part of that community. Career building skills. Do they know lots of technology tools? Do they know how to work at a distance? These sorts of things are going to be tools that they will need in the future workplace. And of course, this is depending on their discipline and their skill levels. But I see this as a highly motivating factor for using asynchronous tools in the classroom. Also, do the asynchronous tools meet the learning objectives? That one is, of course, a given. I was saying, let's face it, this is a little bit of common sense. Another one is learning to communicate at a distance. Communication is a major factor for things to actually be done well and amongst everybody in the community so that they understand. I think communication is one of the biggest problems and problem solvers of both bad and good communities and learners. And last but not least is knowledge and application. Do those learning activities actually foster knowledge and application in their situations? So let's talk about application. For synchronous preparation, you might use synchronous tools, such as screen sharing, using Skype, or Zoom Us, or things like Blackboard Collaborate, like we're doing now. I think these are wonderful tools. Skype, of course, you have to have a username and password to be able to do this. You also have to know other people's screen names in order to be able to use it efficiently. Skype has many different versions. Your institution may own a license for Skype, which gives you a lot more capabilities. The same for Zoom. If you get a free Zoom account, for example, it limits it to 40 minutes. It is a wonderful tool because, as I said previously, only the host has to have an account, and yet you can send out a link to many other users. I believe for the free account it is a maximum of 20 users, and you get a limitation of 40 minutes. That might be more than enough for your students to be able to work together in teams. These tools, I think, are very, very useful, and once they get used to working amongst each other and building that community, then you might be looking at tools such as for collaboration, such as Google Drive, where you can be working on a similar document at the same time. However, you don't have to. So all of these tools are both synchronous and asynchronous tools. Everybody can be sharing the document that they might be working on in Google Drive, Prezi, and Dropbox. Each of the folks who are a part of that share can actually invest in using these tools and make changes, make updates, co-present if they're using either Prezi or Google Drive presentation. So I think these tools are wonderful tools, and they're tools that you've all heard before. Thanks, Beth. Join Me is a good screen sharing tool as well. I think there's a lot more than what I'm sharing out there today. These are the tools that I use on a regular basis, but again, I didn't want to overload you. Make sure you pick the tool that is going to be best for your situation. And, you know, technology is just a tool. It is not the strategy in itself. So you can have both synchronous and asynchronous learning without technology as well. Going a little bit back towards the old days, I mean, you can do it via paper, you can do it via snail mail. I suppose if you looked at those in a certain lens, you could call those technologies as well, but for what we're talking about, we want to lean a little bit more on the digital technologies. So not only do we have screen sharing and full-out collaboration tools where you can actually work together on the items at the same time, but we also have something called project management software. This may be a whole other tool in and amongst itself that I think students should really get to be a part of. This allows them to be a project manager. You not only need to learn how to manage your skills in the classroom and personal management, but your own learning management as well. And if you're doing this in a group, project management software is a great way to be able to teach them what they might be doing in the future as well, a career building skill. I've seen a lot of folks build a project management table using the spreadsheets in Google Drive. Wigio actually has a calendar feature in it that can allow you to assign things to different tasks to different people with different due dates. Oh, excellent. Trello is another one for project management. Thanks, Tiffany. I think it also, you know, and Reich, as I was looking this up yesterday, Reich's tagline is to out-collaborate, and I just thought that was really interesting. I thought that was a fun way to share what it is that they actually do. I know there are a lot of other tools out there that can allow for each of these things. These were just starter for that, but you know, Prezi is a presentation tool, but you might look at it in a different light. It can also be a brainstorming tool. You don't ever have to get to the actual presentation part. And so if you use these tools in combination and build great sharing, I think students get a lot more out of asynchronous activities if they're doing it in a group setting or at least in a problem-solving manner. With that being said, does anybody want to add any more tools to the chat? This has been great that everybody's been jumping in. I've really enjoyed watching. Any other tools you want to share for synchronous or asynchronous learning that you think would be a wonderful piece to pass on to your colleagues? I think you can also definitely, if you're talking about asynchronous learning but starting on the synchronous side of things, building those expectations I think is the most important part. So whether or not you're using the tools, it's really in the planning of how those tools are going to be used. And sometimes after practice and scaffolding some of these things in, so that's why I suggest that you use maybe a synchronous activity first and then scaffold in the asynchronous activities. You may do the asynchronous activities as a class-wide learning objective first and then go to something that is group level. They need practice and see it modeled, I think, before they actually engage in it themselves. And of course, as you get older, more practiced students, that's going to change a little bit. You're going to have to gauge that with your students, but the technologies might lag a little bit on that side as well. So you'll just have to balance it out with the students that you have available and where it is that they want to go. Again, I think do some sort of a needs analysis of what your students are looking for in the workplace as well as in their education might be a very strong indicator of what the tools that you need to use. And they may be different each time you teach the course. So I think asynchronous learning is a wonderful modality for teaching because you don't all have to be there at the same time at the same place. However, you need to pick the things that are right for learning and not just the tools that maybe you or the students already know. If they see the relevance in the tools that they are using for the future, I'm quite certain that you will get buy-in from them throughout whatever trials and tribulations are ahead. With that, since I don't see any more additions into the chat, that was all I had for you today, so I just wanted to say a quick thank you for joining us. If you ever have any questions or want to engage in further conversation, please feel free to email me. My email is available. And with that, I'm going to pass it back over to Sue.
Great. Thank you so much, Carly. That was really interesting, and I know that I've got some new tools now to add to my toolbox and check out and see how we can use those with our faculty here. Again, I'd like to encourage every one of you who attended today to go to this URL and fill out the evaluation for us. We need to know what we're doing well, what we're not doing well. If you have ideas for future webinars, we'd love to hear those. And if you'd like to present as well, we would love to engage that. We always have room for new people and new ideas. I'd also like to encourage you to attend the USDLA conference coming up in May in St. Louis. This is a great opportunity to learn from distance learning professionals all over the country, even all over the world. And you can not only learn, but you can network and create connections with these folks. It's a great resource for all your distance learning opportunities. And I'd also like to encourage you to get involved with the Iowa Distance Learning Association. We don't require that you live or work in Iowa. We're open to anyone that's living or working anywhere. We encourage you to join us. We have, of course, the webinar series. We have a conference that we're working on getting established. We ask that, I guess I need to let you know that as well as becoming involved in the Iowa Distance Learning Association, your membership also includes membership to the U.S. Distance Learning Association. So you get those member benefits as well. Again, thank you for attending today. This was great. I think this is our best attended webinar so far. We really appreciate that, and if there's anything that we can do to make it better, let us know in that evaluation. Thank you very much.